What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Be Gruntle. I want to do a video today about driving when you have agoraphobia. Just a reminder that we all need to practice. If you have agoraphobia, you need to practice driving. I try to do it every day. I try to go for a drive somewhere. Today, I'm going for a drive to Walmart. The Walmart close to my house. And it's only like a 5-minute drive, but I like to do that and go in and walk around the Walmart. Even if I only need one thing, there's a grocery store much closer. But I go to Walmart because it's just bigger, more crowded. It's a little harder. It pushes my boundaries. I actually have to drive a little bit to get there. It's not that hard for me. But what'll happen is, because it's easy for me, I won't. I didn't put on my seatbelt yet. Because it's easy for me, I won't do it. I'll be like, that's not that bad, and I won't do it. But a lot of time will go by, and then I'll get comfortable, and again, I'll be having problems driving there. I'll start to have issues with. Something will happen or something will spark it back up. I don't know what really triggers it. I guess you could call it a trigger. So I try to do it, like I said, at least once a week. I try to go for a drive somewhere and get out, walk around. I was listening to this guy the other day that was driving with agoraphobia, and it was really interesting to me how common some of our triggers are, or our crutches. I didn't realize how common some of the crutches are. And what I mean by crutches is, like, when I go for a drive, I always have to have a thing of water with me. And I don't know if it's like that for everybody with agoraphobia, but when I get really nervous and anxious, my mouth dries out, and it adds to the feeling of like I can't breathe and stuff like that. It doesn't usually happen on the way to Walmart, but what I did notice was I was driving somewhere the other day with my wife, and it was kind of far, and it was across some busy streets, and I was almost to the destination, and I realized I didn't have my water. I started to get a little nervous, because we were sitting at a notoriously long, busy light. That's usually my hangups are stoplights. I don't like the feeling of being trapped in the traffic. I don't know if everybody has that. The guy I watched, he didn't specifically say that was a problem for him. But for me, that's one of the biggest things. Like, I think I could drive much further if it wasn't for stoplights and being stuck at a stoplight and surrounded by cars. I always try to stay in a lane, like especially the left lane, so if I got trapped in there, I could get out, even though it's never happened to me before. One time, a long time ago, when I first started driving, I got stuck at a light, and I ran the red light and pulled into a parking lot because I was starting to have a panic attack. So whenever I feel like I'm trapped at a light, it triggers those feelings. I don't know if everybody else has the same thing. But I've gotten much better at it, because what I do is, and I don't know if you would call this a crutch or just the way I deal with it. In my head, I think if I had to, I could just get out of the car, walk into a store, or walk into a building, and I would feel much better. I'm not necessarily trapped. I can get out of the car. So that's always helped me. That helps me a little bit. Some days when it's like light after light after light in a heavy area, and where I live, the guy I watched, he didn't seem to live in a heavy area. Where I live, in Las Vegas, to get anywhere, you kind of have to sit in. These lights. At these lights, there's a lot of main roads and a lot of heavy traffic, especially during rush hour and we're a 24-hour town, so rush hour doesn't seem to be as narrow as it is in some other places. A narrow of a time window. So we have basically heavy traffic a lot during the day. Early in the morning, there, people commuting to work, you have that, and then about 9-10 o'clock it kind of dies down. So that's when I try to do most of my driving. But it used to be when I first started driving that I liked to take back roads because I didn't want to get stuck at lights and stuck in traffic, and I was free to travel. Well, now it's kind of switched to I don't like being stuck. I don't like taking back roads because I like to have places that I can retreat to. So I don't know. Like, let me know in the comments. What are your hang-ups? Does everybody have the same hang-ups? The water thing really threw me off. The guy needing, as far as crutches, the water thing. Also, there's certain people that live in my area, certain friends of mine, and they are a crutch for me. I don't know if everybody has that. Until that guy talked about it, I didn't realize that was a thing. They're a crutch for me. So speaking of crutches, I think about, hey, if I get stuck, they can come and get me. They'll come and get me. But there's times where those people are on vacation or not available. And during those times, I tend to drive less when I need to do the opposite. I think we naturally, because of the panic, we naturally think of how we can relieve ourselves or get help in case the things that we fear happen. And so we naturally come up with things in our mind, like I have people that can come and get me. And so we're doing the challenge of driving like we should, but we're also setting up different new crutches. So what this guy did was he drove without his water, I don't know, I obviously he brought his phone. My phone is a crutch. I always like to know that I can call for help if I needed it, if I started to have a panic attack. But he left his water. The people that he depended on were out of town, so he tried to do it without the crutches, and I think that's a smart way to do it. Not at first. Like if you just need to get out there, and you need to keep your ring open. I have like a 3-mile radius that. I have like a 3-mile radius. Well, it's bigger than that. Like it started off a few miles. I don't know the exact mileage because it's not really a radius. You could kind of call it that, but it's, like anybody with agoraphobia, the further you get away from your home or your comfort zone, the more nervous you get and the more anxious you get. But then after a while, it dies down. It stops. So it doesn't continue. But initially, that's the issue is. That's the issue, is just how long is it going to take you to get back to your comfort zone. For me anyways, that was part of the issue. But it's not really dependent on mileage. It's also depending on like certain roads, certain areas. So I can go to one side of town. I live sort of on the outskirts, close to the edge of Vegas, in North Vegas. So I can drive towards the outskirted area much further because there's not as much heavy traffic there. So it's not exactly a perfect ring. I can drive much further that way than I can the other way because there's a lot more heavy traffic. It's close, there's areas that when you get close to the strip out here, the traffic gets really heavy. When you get close to that center of town, the traffic gets much heavier, and there's more of a chance of getting stuck in a traffic jam, or someone's broke down and now you're sitting there waiting for you're stuck even longer than you would normally be. But anyways, I'm actually here at the Walmart. I'm just driving around the parking lot a little. And, you know, that could be helpful, too, to someone that's trying to get used to going inside. I don't really have a problem anymore with walking in there like I used to. I used to begin by driving around the parking lot. I would go to a place. Once I got there, I'd drive around and then I'd leave. Then I'd drive around, park. Then I'd drive around, park, walk up to the doors. And this was over several weeks. I'd drive around, park, walk in the doors, walk around the store a little bit. But once I tend to get something locked in like that, like, well, this, and it doesn't seem like, oh, this isn't going to be a problem. I can be here at Walmart now. It doesn't bother me. I have a tendency to not do it for a while. And then I seem to relapse or backtrack. So I feel like you always have to keep pushing you always have to keep pushing your boundaries. I don't know if that, what I don't know is, and I should probably research it more. I'm kind of afraid of the answer. Is that a lifelong thing? You know, am I always going to have to make sure I drive someplace far? I didn't have to do that before. I don't know if it'll ever just eventually go away. I think once I'm not afraid of the panic anymore, and I'm not afraid of the fear, I don't know how you get not afraid of fear, but once I'm not afraid of it anymore, and I'm not worried about having a panic attack, I believe the whole thing would go away. So I'm here. I'm going to go in. I may record a little bit more when I come back on the way home. All right, guys, I'm back out of the store. I was probably in there a good hour, just walking around. I think it's just, it's kind of warm out now, so I got to roll the window down. Hopefully it doesn't mess with the sound too much. Sorry, guys. I have a bad habit of not putting on the seatbelt because when I'm backing up, I turn and the seatbelt's kind of restrictive. I feel like it's really good to spend some time when you go into the store. Like, once you get used to it, it's really good to get to where you are very comfortable. You no longer are dwelling on that you're at the store. That's when I feel like, holy shit. That's when I feel like I've made some progress. When my mind stops dwelling on the agoraphobia and stops dwelling on where I'm at, and I get into what I'm doing, I think that's when I've made some real progress. It's so yeah, it's just important to do this every day. Get out there every day, get in your car, even if you don't go very far, just enough to push back at the anxiety. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be days where you just can't do it. So on those days, maybe just take a little walk around the block, walk down the street. Even if it's something that's easy for you, just keep it going. Keep them boundaries out there so they don't push back in on you. My anxiety caused me to, I have a loss for words all the time. When I'm not anxious, I can flow with my speech. When I do stuff like driving or anything like that, it's like my brain is preoccupied. I don't know if anybody else gets like that. And I have a hard time coming up with words. And it also caused me to be frustrated. So when I'm driving, the frustration comes out. I feel like I have more road rage, and I get aggravated with people that are delaying me from getting. I don't know if anybody else feels that. So I try my hardest when I'm driving to stay calm, not get mad at people, to understand that it's the anxiety. I'm not really ragey like that. I just am anxious, so it's causing me to feel frustration and anger and take it out on people. People that are slowing me down and blocking me from getting to where getting to my destination. So I don't know if anybody else feels that, but it's a good idea to learn breathing techniques to where you can get in the car, and when you get in those situations, do your breathing techniques, calm yourself down. I know it's not a miracle thing, but it does help. Trust me, it helps a lot. And take the times at the light to practice those breathing things, because I don't know if that's a trigger for everyone, sitting at a stoplight, being held up, being held up, I think is a trigger for me, and it causes me frustration and fear, and my fear turns straight to anger. So like I said, the breathing technique helps. So when I'm at a stop sign, take my time and I breathe, or stoplight, I should say, not a stop sign, you don't have enough time. At a stop sign or a stoplight, and I'm in traffic, I do the breathing, I try to clear my head. And I've been at points, and I'm mostly at a point where when I drive, I don't think about it anymore, unless it's out of my area. So I think to push back at it, you got to get out of your area, your comfort zone, and once you get that locked in to the point where you're driving and you're not thinking about anxiety, you're not thinking about panic, then you can expand that area. And always just keep expanding the area. Sometimes it gets hard because I'm at a point where it's kind of hard to expand my area, because I have to drive pretty far. I have to drive, 10 miles out to expand my area, at least 10 miles. And so it gets kind of difficult, because you really got to make time for it. Like in the beginning, it'd take me 5 minutes to drive around the block, 10 minutes. Now it's like I have to spend at least 30 minutes to an hour to get out of the comfort zone, and then come back in. So what I've been doing is, most of my driving I do with my wife or someone else, where it's long distance. I've been trying to do that by myself, and it's been helping a lot. So just keep moving forward. That's the key. Keep moving forward. Thanks for driving with me, guys. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it gave you guys some knowledge, some resources to draw from when you're driving. And I'm back home now. I'm pulling into my driveway. And I hope all my videos give you guys some resources and some help, and give you a resource to draw from when you're in those situations and you're feeling anxious. Thanks again. Until next time, stay begruntled.